So the holidays are over and you might have gotten a credit card for the first time and started using it. And I want you to understand exactly how credit cards work and how they get you kind of into this false sense of security on spending with them. This spreadsheet is available in the link in the description of this video. You can make a copy of it by going to File and make a copy, and then you can modify and edit anything you want in this spreadsheet that you see fit. We're going to start with a single credit card, and assuming that the APR on the credit card, which you can usually find in the application or the statements that you get from the credit card company when you first open it, or even when you get your monthly statements, will tell you that. And if you spent $1,000 is on various items. Of course, you can change these values to be whatever your credit card is and whatever your balance is. And you can see here the field is named balance, and here it's called APR. This will be shown throughout most of the video, and I'm going to hide the menu bar just so that it's easier for folks to see what's going on. Formulas are here. All the formulas will be available in the spreadsheet that you can view. And let's get started. So if you spent $1,000, just to say you bought a bunch of various items on the same month, and your APR is 26.99%. This 26.99% is the annual percentage rate. This is how much they expect to get back. The APRs are usually applied to loans and credit cards and other debts. APY is usually applied for savings, which will be in another follow-up video. Minimum payments. So different credit card companies follow different policies for setting up their minimum payments for how they charge people for their repayment of their debts. One thing that a lot of them do will have a minimum flat amount. This minimum flat amount is how much you must pay every month minimally. If your interest and principal payments would be less than this, it would set it to this minimal amount. Percentage of the balance is the typical way. I've noticed that some credit cards stick around 2%. It can be anywhere from 1 to 3%, but you can check with your credit card company on how they calculate theirs. But we're going to go with a conservative 2%, and we're also adding in the interest accrued for the month to each payment. So the minimum payment amount for a $1,000 debt on a 26.99%. So the percentage of the balance would be $20 if it was 2% of it. The current monthly interest for that $1,000 is $22.49, $22.49. So the minimum payment amount would be the sum of these two values. Now, if this total would have been, the sum of these two values would have been less than $25, this would have been a $25 minimum payment amount. So if you pay only the minimum amount, it'll take you 62 months to pay off, about a little over 5 years. The total amount that you would have paid is $1,000, $1,721. The total interest would have been $721.56. And you can see for the first month, you're paying these values. And then I keep calculating the minimum payment as the months go by. So the minimum payment will drop each month, but your interest will also drop because you're paying off more of the balance. And here you can see is when it hits under $25, you will be then paying the $25 amount for the remaining months until your balance on this column B is $0, which would be at the 62-month mark. Now, you don't have to pay the minimum balance. You can always pay more towards your credit card to remove the debts. And there's two different ways that people typically do this to try to pay off their debts a little faster. One is you can do an additional on top of your minimum. Different companies set up ways that you can make your repayments automatically, and you can say, I want to pay the minimum plus an extra, And this is this methodology which we'll be talking about now. So if we add just $10 to that minimum payment, so that first month is where it'll be 42 $42.49. Well, if you add 10 more dollars to it, the payment that we would have made was $52.49. The interest portion still remains the same because it's interest only on whatever your balance is. If you continue this route of making the minimum payments all the way down to, even when you get down to the minimum payment of $25, you're still paying $35 for each month. You would have paid it off in 39 months, which is a little over 3 years, saving yourself almost 2 years of payments. The best part is that the interest and the money you would have saved in payments total is always, you're saving interest when you're paying something off faster. So you're saving the money on the interest is $278.15 just by paying $10 more than the minimum every month. Another method that people typically pay to pay off their debts faster is they'll set their own minimums. You don't have to pay the minimum amount. You can say, I'm going to pay $50 or whatever the greater value is that's there. I'm not sure what this is here. So if you paid $50 every month, this is greater than the minimum that was 42. So you would be paying $50 every month. The interest portion would be going down, obviously, and your balance would be going down. You would finish off in 2.3 years versus 3.3 years if you only added $10. And you would be saving a little over another $100 just by paying $50 a month. Now, you can change any of the values in the green fields here. It makes it easier to automatically update these. So if I change this to a $40 minimum, you'll see that your first few payments, you must pay your minimum amount, which is 42. But once you reach below $40 for a minimum payment, you'll just continue with $40 payments. And all these other fields will update also. So this will exactly save you 2 years. It'll save you $240 versus using the minimum amount. And this is the basics for paying down a credit card quickly. Now, lower interest rates, if you happen to get a 16.99% credit card, you would pay it off a lot faster, both here, less than 5 years here now, 3 years exactly here if you do $10 on top of the minimum, and a little faster than 3 years if you did a $40 minimum. So the interest portion is what usually affects your minimum payment, and that's because I'm assuming that the credit card company you're working with is going to take the percentage of the balance plus the interest for that month as your minimum payment. Now, credit card debts are not the same as loans. Loans have a little more rigid on the payment plans and how things work there. But credit cards, you can always pay down faster because they are a different type of debt. If you go to the next tab or sheet, I have created a field called multiple credit cards. And actually, I'm going to change this value back to what it was before. It's 26.99. So let's just say you have 3 different credit cards and they total up to $1,000 debt. And you want to figure out how much you're actually paying in interest and what are the payoff dates and all that. Well, if you had a $500 debt on your Visa at 16.99%, this is the monthly interest for the first month. This interest obviously goes down as you pay off your debts. The minimum payment is $25, just because we're assuming the same rules as what was done here. So if you change these values, the minimum payment amounts here are also adjusted the same way. The estimated payoff date would be December 2026, assuming today's date for these values. So if you put these balances in today and these APRs, this will be the approximate payoff date if you only paid the minimum payments. Assuming $25 is the minimum payment for these. Now, this is your alt payment amount. You can, if you paid $45 more, you would have saved almost a year and saved about $45 in interest, $44 in interest here. And this helps with paying down the debt faster, saving you some money. But again, the best way to not get into these credit card debt problems is to not be spending money on these credit cards. If you continue to spend on these credit cards, obviously these values don't make a difference. So you can adjust these if you want, and you can see that the payoff times will be sooner rather than later. So this saved you about a year by going to $45. We did $40 to this one and $30 to this one. You can see you can save up to $64 on paying these off. Now, you probably don't want to put the $45 on the low APR rate if you only had one. So you probably don't want to put the extra money that you're going to put towards towards your payments, towards the low interest rate one, even though it's a bigger balance. You typically want to get rid of the one with the higher interest rate first. So let's assume this is going to stay there, and we'll do the extra $45 here. So now you're saving only $9, but you'll be done in 5 months. If this was, assuming today's date being the end of December. So at the end of May, you would have end of December 2024. At the end of May 2025, you would save $4, 4 months, this amount of money. Once this is paid off, obviously you could then transfer your total payment of $45 to this one and add in to $70. And then you would save a lot more money by paying that off. And that's how typically people would pay off their debts, is pay off the highest interest first, take the payments you were making for that high interest one. Once you put all the extra payments there, move it to the next highest interest. Oh, actually the next highest interest would be this one here. And this one also would be finished at the same time as May 2025, if you had started it today. But you would save 9 months instead of spending this many months completing this. Now, another option that a lot of people do is they say, oh, I'll just use a balance transfer, get a promotional rate for this $1,000 interest. And this is a weighted average based on these balances and the APRs here. And we're going to move over to this sheet. So this sheet is, this debt total is coming from the multiple credit cards. The APR is coming from that weighted APR, just to make it a lot easier for the calculations here. So on balance transfers, you'd often see that they would give you 0% for a certain amount of months, or a very, very low interest rate for a long duration of time. Typically, they would apply a transfer fee. 4% is the latest one that I've been seeing. But then the APR after the promo is usually much higher than the rate that you were paying for any other credit cards. And that's why you're encouraged to try to make these payments on time to pay off this debt before the promotion is over. So assuming we have a 0% APR for 12 months with a 4% transfer rate, and I'll explain what the transfer rate is, transfer fee, and a 29.99 after the promo. So the transfer fee is usually whatever this percentage is versus the debt total that you're transferring over to there. So that would be $40 in this case. So now your total debt to clear is $1,040. your new minimum monthly payment based on the same calculations we were doing before, which is now you're paying 0% on the interest, but you still need to make minimum payments, which 2% of the 1040 is less than $25, so we'll just make it $25 as the minimum. If you had a much larger value here, let's say $5,000, obviously, and I don't know why that wasn't set to dollars. Your new minimum payments would be $104, but we'll stick to $25. To clear the debt by the end of the promo, you don't want to do the minimum payment. You want to make it whatever it is to clear that payment by the end of that promotional date. So $86.67 each month will pay off your debt by the time the promo is over. The difference versus the minimum payment is a little paying the minimum to the credit cards directly. So you're paying $86.67. When I say what your minimum would be, this is the minimum value that I'm getting as the difference. So it'll be $11 more and $11.67 more than if you had just continued paying the minimum payments here. And if you continued paying the minimum payments, you actually finish a year earlier by doing this promotion. Your interest saved is $115, and the total you saved is actually $75.29. Now the reason is remember you paid a transfer fee. So whatever the transfer fee is, that comes off of your interest saved because you actually paid it as a different fee. So the actual money you saved is $75.29. But what if you can't make this $86 payment? What if you said, I could do $75? Well, this is that value you can change here. This $75 value is the difference versus the minimum payment. So if you had continued paying it on just each credit card individually, the difference versus the minimum payment would be $0. The balance at the end of the promo is $140. So at the end of the promo, you'll be started charging that interest of 29.99% of this $104. And you need 2 additional months to clear that amount. And the amount of interest you would have paid is $5.27 on that $140. Total amount you would have paid for the debt is this, and the total you saved is this. Of course, this is minus the $40 interest. Yes. Oh, it doesn't actually subtract the... I gotta add that in there. Oh, wait, no, because we already said that this was added in to your balance here. So I'm calculating it off of this. So you would have saved $88.49 by paying it off in 10 months versus paying the minimum. 10 months instead of paying it towards the minimum of the credit cards themselves. Just a disclaimer, I am not an accountant. These spreadsheets could have faults in them, and always follow your terms of your credit card debts. You will do a follow-up video on loans, such as home loans, auto loans, and that type of personal loans. And I'll also do another one on paying for something with a credit card versus saving money for it and paying it using compound interest in your favor to save more money. Thank you.